I know he's guilty, and he does not have sexsomnia.
She still has vivid memories of waking up at a house party after a night of drinking. It happened back in 2011. She had fallen asleep embracing her boyfriend, but woke up a few hours later with her jeans pulled down in pain. A stranger was anally penetrating her.
I was being raped.
The 30-year-old woman wants to tell her story, but a court order prevents us from revealing her identity.
I was just in shock. I was, what is happening? You know, what's going on?
Ryan Hartman was convicted of sexually assaulting her, but won a new trial after bringing forward evidence he had a history of sleepwalking. During his second trial, the defense argued he had been in a deep sleep when he attacked her.
Still to this day, it rattles me because I sat in court and I watched him testify and say over and over again, I do not recall, you know, like just denying the entire thing. And then all of a sudden, okay, yeah, I did it, but I was asleep. It just, you know, to this day, it makes me so sick to my stomach.
The sexsomnia defense has been used about 15 times in Canada. In a third of the cases, the perpetrators have been found not criminally responsible. It's now up to a judge to decide if Hartman deserves jail or if he needs psychiatric treatment. This expert says sleep disorders are difficult to prove.
Most of the people that rely on this defense can demonstrate a history of sleepwalking before. Often there's a family history. And then the Supreme Court has been very clear that expert testimony will always be required to establish that this individual in fact suffers from that condition. These are situations that are not easily faked.
Since her rape, the woman says she's fought through drug and alcohol abuse, wrestled with suicide. Now married and working, she says she's a survivor, but worries about falling apart if her attacker isn't found guilty.
I've asked myself a million times, what if the outcome isn't what I think it should be? How will I react? You know, how will I move on? How will I get past it?
After 7 years, 2 trials, and 2 appeals, a Brockville judge will deliver a final verdict on Monday. For the woman, it will result in legal closure, but it may not bring any comfort. Judy Trin, CBC News, Ottawa.
As Judy said, this rarely comes up in court, but sexsomnia is a medically recognized disorder. Colin Shapiro is a psychiatrist and medical director at the Sleep and Alertness Clinic in Toronto, and he actually coined the term more than a decade ago. So let's begin with the description. What is sexsomnia?
Sexsomnia is part of a group of disorders called parasomnias, where people do things that they're not aware that they're doing them.
How is it possible to go through all of this, in this case, having sex, without waking up?
Well, it is surprising, but people can drive their car fair distances and be asleep all of the time. And so it's as if part of the brain is awake and doing certain things, but other parts of the brain is just not aware that you're awake and doing the things that you're doing. And so there is this disjunction, if you like, but the art of the exercise is to try and work out if people are for real or if they're fabricating, and one has to look at a whole variety of things to come to that conclusion.
How easy would it be for somebody to say they have it and not really have it?
Certainly people could try, but in this situation one has to look at the balance of all the factors that are relevant, and that includes things like a personal history, a family history, what other partners might have said and experienced before. But there is never an absolute certainty, and it's always going to be on the balance of probabilities as to whether this is very clearly a sexsomnia. The issue is that it's a very common condition, much more than people realize, much more than I realized when I first described it, and about 7% of people who come to the sleep clinic have had that sort of an experience.
All right, Dr. Shapiro, thank you very much.
Pleasure.